test one, test. Okay, since we're jumping around here a little bit, the reality of it all is, since this is a reality series, and it's unraveling as it does, you get a chance to climb inside of my head and see about what it is I've been thinking about, and as much as putting together some sort of project. And so we started off with the technology part, right? There's 5 videos there now. I'm going to put these videos on another page and make sure that they are all listed in order that they've actually published in by date, because they're not necessarily all part of the same component of the entire program. I was working on technology integration, and I was working on some composition. That being said, both of those things are still going on with me. I need to take a little bit more time and sit down for a couple hours and study that Focusrite and Sapphire interface. Now I have a good idea what I'm doing with it, but I realize I only scratched the surface of it. So what I want to do is study it, and figure it out, and then use it to produce the rest of this project. And in order to do that, I need to learn how to do the, I need to learn Focusrite, and I need to learn ProLogic. Now I got them hooked up. Those first tailwind videos, 4 and 5, show how I have my mics hooked up. I got that figured out, and they're all busted into the Sapphire Pro 40 correctly now. And I'm correcting myself for previously calling it the Sapphire, because I was erroneous with that. Actually, it's the Focusrite Pro 40 that the cords are being plugged into. And the Sapphire is actually the program on the computer the application that is running the software, the mixing software. So I would just call the whole thing Sapphire. Actually, it's two different things. It's the hardware and it's the software. So I wanted to correct that from the previous video. Whoop. The yard sale. But anyway, then I got to thinking, you know, I'm working on composition. I started technology, and people are there wondering about drums too. I mean, I've been playing the synthesizer a little bit, goofing around with some bass guitar stuff. That first video was just totally that noise. What would they call it? Hillbilly dirt junk jazz. That was just me. That was just noise. I mean, I just turned on the synthesizer. It was just like turning knobs and stuff, and it was like laying my hand on it or whatever for a while, and then turn some more knobs, and then try to play something for a second and say, heck with that. And I did that in like stop and start and on 3 different tracks or something like that. And then I went back and listened to it, and I just listened to the sounds and played drums to the sounds. It was just like call response. I had no idea what was going to happen until it happened. So, but anyways, that's what that video was all about. And I got to thinking, you know, there's no drums involved here yet. So there's got to be something of interest that got to do with drums. You know, John Henry Bonham was a percussionist, maybe. He wasn't a technologist. Oh, well, maybe he was, and of course he was. See that? See that? See that? But his primary thing was a musician. I don't think we can argue about that. Anyway, and that's what the whole thing's based on. So anyway, what I was thinking about is balance. What's a good technique to start off for a beginner drummer? Because this is going from the ground up level. And what's the very first thing you want to learn when you start training your body to play drums? Because it's really like riding a bicycle. It really takes a lot of physical effort if you really want to play the drums and get a lot out of them aggressively. That being said, where would you want to start out? You want to start off with balance. So, what is balance? Well, it's being able to use both sides of your body, your right and left side. It's ambidexterity. And balance, just like if you were skiing. If you're a snow skier, you would understand what I'm talking about. The way you dig your edges in when you get into the snow, hanging the left bank, jumping over, hanging the right bank, right? Switch, switch, right? Switch, 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 right? Awesome. So, well, same kind of principle as snow skiing, or even riding a bike or walking, because it really has a lot more going on to it than just being balanced as well. From the balance point, the core, well, then you can start varying off of it. What's often the case is maybe you use your right side more than you use your left side. And it's hard for you to, in timing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. And it's hard for you to, even though this foot is easier to use than this foot, because this foot isn't trained real well, so you can do your doubles with this one on your bass drum, but you can never do it with that one, because it's just not trained yet, if you know what I mean. Well, getting time with this, what's going on over here, is important. So when you think about balance at that point, we started at balance. So that means that if we're going to be balanced, see that? Boom. Right with it. Boom. Right down. Boom. Boom. Right? Boom, boom. So what I do right there? Well, instead of being on balance, boom, boom, like that, boom, what I did was I accented the upbeat. See my foot going up and down? There's 2 ticks of the clock here. Click, 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 click. It's down and the up. So, something like that, if you can imagine. So, that being said, what we're doing over here, instead of being on balance down here, we're walking. So what we're doing is, don't make it harder than it really is. I see a lot of percussionists out there struggling, trying to figure out how to play doubles with their bass drum kick. There's all sorts of drop kick methods and all sorts of ways of horsing around with it. But when you get down to it, I mean, if you're really going to use that pedal with your foot, like you use some tool with your hand, like a hammer or something, or whatever it might be, you're really going to want to have a good relationship with that instrument. You know what I mean? You're going to want to be able to hold on to it and do and manipulate it the way you want it to be manipulated in order to do what you want it to do, like hammer something in, for example. Notice, you know, the time. So notice the time hasn't varied very much. Every now and then I'll goof around here a little bit, stop and talk or whatever, stumble. But anyway, a good place to start for balance exercises is I sit in a chair. I sit in a chair in my living room, and this has kind of a dual effect. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do this the way I do it, but I'm kind of wired, right? And I don't have too much of a problem with bending down like this and playing. It doesn't hurt my back or anything. I can stand back up, got good posture. So that it kind of has a double whammy when you're thinking about muscle memory. Muscle memory, you know, if you sleep on your back the wrong way for too long, it wants to, when you try to stand up out of that position, it hurts. Well, muscle memory is kind of trained over time. It's kind of like a slug learning how to add 1 + 1, if you know what I mean. They'll finally get it, but it's going to take them a while. Well, muscle memory is kind of like that. So if I hunch over like this, play sometimes, I don't do a lot, maybe 20 minutes or so, every now and then. When I sit up behind my real drum kit and sit down on the seat, it's kind of like a rubber band effect. You know, if you take something and you resist it one way that it doesn't want to be put into, it wants to bounce back in the other direction. You know, so like if you pull on a rubber band one way and it stretches, it doesn't want to be that way, and then you let it go, it kind of bounces back the other direction a little bit before it straightens out. Well, that's how it makes my muscles feel when I sit down behind a real drum kit. It's almost like I'm on top of a bicycle. I'm not just kind of like sitting back there playing. I mean, oftentimes I will be just laid back and playing things, like, you know, nice and easy. Think about granularity and aggression balanced and on time. So, you know, nice and granular types of riffs, grain. Touch the drums, right there they are, making noise like they always do. You don't always have to use sticks. You should listen to your drums. They make all kinds of neat noises. Remember, this is balance exercises. Notice what I'm doing. Now, right now, that's just a random act. It's just random. But if you want to think about time and measure, notice my feet are just bump, 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 like I'm walking down a path. I'm just walking. I ain't just tripped on nothing. I ain't skipping right now. I'm just in time. When we start skipping, say you're skipping down a path, that's when you get into, the old timers would call them swing jazzes or steps. You hear the expression, that's a nice step for the drummer. It's like kind of like walking. And when you see something across the street, a cat going down the street, it's a kid. And it's old jazz as well. So, just walk down the street in time, and once you, I mean, this is just a muscle memory activity right now. We want all your muscles in your ankles, in your calves, they should all be relaxed. You want to relax. And I know probably there's somebody sitting there and his calf is just kind of like, his foot is an L and it won't move at all. His foot's just stuck there. And it's kind of like hurting. And he wants to pick up his leg and use it and rely on the knee and the hip and the weight of the body to manipulate that tool. But what we're talking about is using your foot to play the bass drum. So starting here and in balance with the hi-hat is equally as important, both that play in symmetry or staggered on their own, because they are individual instruments. So you don't have to play them together all the time. I mean, you can actually variate and do little solos on each one of them to highlight them in the whole performance. For example, this right here is just supporting hit the bass drum. So we got going on over here, and the bass can take opportunity. It doesn't matter whatever you want to do. Play straight out 32s. Whatever variation you want to get in there. The whole idea is balance and being able to use each individual instrument with your foot. Now the bass can do the same thing for his. Now I can either use my foot to get variations in the sound of the hi-hats, like that. I leaned up so it knocked me off balance. But anyway, there's lots of different opportunities in variations that you can find to play in your instruments if you start off with balance and being able to play each independently. So, exercise to do is to lean forward and plant both feet into the ground from your heels and exercise your ankles. This is where you start. This isn't the end of the whole thing. Once you get this part of it, it's kind of like a baby learning how to toddle. You'll have your balance. That's what's important. Don't think that's the big picture. It's not. Just focus on getting balance. Then once you get balance, depending on how you want to play your instrument, I mean, now that you know how to drive it, so to speak, where do you want to drive to, how, you know, or if you were skiing, you know, you see the moguls in front of you, the little snow mountains, the snow moguls in front of you. and you're skiing down the hill, in the snow itself, the conditions, that's the music, that's the sound, and you just respond to it. However it is that you feel like responding to it. But there are rules involved in when you play strophic forms or rondos or some sort of expectation on how the music should be played. And so there's some rules there sometimes. Back in the old days, the pop radio stations wouldn't let some bands play some of their music on the radio, for example, because they weren't meeting the rules. But that being said, there are also rules to the way music is composed. And they're tools to be used. Those rules are. So what I'm getting at is you're going to want to keep nice straight beats as well. In balance. Now watch this. I'm going to plant my feet and plant my sticks at the same time. Right there's what we want to do. Here, did I do a flam? So I'm playing at the same time, but then I'm using both percussion. What percussion is actually striking. Then I'm using the repercussion with my fingers. Because when you hit that stick, it bounces. And as soon as it bounces, you have your fingers back here on the back of that stick. You're holding your stick properly, either German, there's different names for them. Different grips, and the old timers used to call it different methods. They were either up-handed or down-handed, and that would be the French or German method, French or German. And so whatever you feel comfortable with, or if you want to play both of them, depending on how you're attacking your set, you might want to play your cymbal in the French grip, for example, for a certain composition in the song that you have, because it feels nice when you're trying to put together the song, the content of it, and it does what you want it to do, and it's really getting the best out of what you can do with it. Or you might want to play German on that as well. It depends on how you feel about it and how you're playing your drums. You might switch back and forth. So that's important as well. And you can switch back and forth from Russian to German, I'm sorry, from German to French. You switch back and forth, it gives you the opportunity to divide up time, so to speak. And that's a much larger concept beyond the scope of what we want to do here now. We just want to start off with balance. So good balance exercises, do them. What you want to do is just try to do things like this, hand over hand, sitting firm-footed, and just see how long you can do it. Push yourself. Push, 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 push. Push yourself. You can do it. Now I got a nice firm grip as I'm doing that at this point. It's just solid battery. But notice what I'm doing here. This is German grip. Look at this. This is French grip. See that? If you're stuck in German grip, if you always play overhanded, it's going to be very difficult for you to switch over when it's required and you're changing time. So when you're doing an upbeat, so to speak. So whether it's on the right side or on the left side when you do an upbeat, or if you do a downbeat on the left side or right side, it depends. But that being said, what you want to do is start off like this. And flip your hands over your arms. And as you bring the stick back, see how I'm flipping my hand up? Like that a little bit. I'm exaggerating it now. See what I'm doing? I'm really just, I'm switching from German to French. And then I'll just change backwards, and I'm going to go the other way again. See what I mean? So, do that with your feet planted straight down, and also with synchronous balance. Synchronous balance. Wherever you got to start out at to make it work, however slow it is, don't get frustrated. Now you might wind up start off doing what you think is synchronic, they're synchronized. You might think you're doing this, and then you start doing this. If you can't do this, and you look down here, and these are going like that now. You wonder what happened? I thought I was doing this. All right? You really want to gain control of the root balance, the root core of your percussion, and being able to use your feet and your hands to their extremes from balance up. So that way, if you really learn this hardwired, you know that they're going to be performing there. They know what they're doing. You know they know what they're doing. It's a cognitive exercise at first. You know what you want your feet to be doing. It's just getting them to do it. And that's the part that's difficult. That's the part that takes the time to continually focus on what it is you're doing, analyzing your, you know what you want to do. You know how to do it. You've seen how it's done. And you just need to know. You just need to get your body to do it. So you're in the cognitive part of it. So focus on this when you're doing this. See?